Former Newsboys frontman Michael Tait has admitted to reckless and destructive behavior, including drug and substance abuse, among other struggles.
Yeah, baby, this is a juicy story. In fact, it's so juicy, I didn't even want to talk about the revelation that the lead singer for Newsboys confessed to drink, drugs, and grooming. When the story broke, I quickly concluded, well, this doesn't really have anything to do with me. So for that reason, I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
But then Michael Tait, the lead singer, wrote a public apology. It grabbed my attention, and it led me to conclude with fear and trepidation that there are actually 4 crucial lessons from the Michael Tait story. And you say, well, why fear and trepidation? Why don't you just talk about it? And the answer to that question is found in our first really important lesson from this current evangelical scandal, of which we seem to have no shortage lately. Here's crucial lesson number 1, discernment. Anytime that you and I hear news that doesn't really involve us, it can be really titillating, it can be salacious, but if it doesn't involve me, I have to put my discernment cap on and ask some questions before I open up my big yammer. Questions like, is this story widely disseminated? If not, by talking about it, I could potentially be spreading rumors or even sharing truthful stories for the sole purpose of gossiping. And because this story is, needless to say, ripe for gossip, I want to talk about stories like this with fear and trepidation. And please note, it's not just because this is a YouTube video. Rules of discernment should apply to all of us all the time. The Bible is emphatic in its disdain for gossip. Or if you're KJV only, the Bible calls people who share information talebearers. And this sin is so destructive, it even makes its way onto the list of the 7 sins God hates. Proverbs 6. There are 6 things the Lord, nope, there's 7 things that are an abomination to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that run rapidly to evil, a false witness who declares lies, and one who spreads strife among brothers. Zoinks, Scoob, gossip is so sinful and it's so destructive. In fact, I think it's one of the most destructive sins in local churches. You want to wreck your church? Listen to gossip. So I want to make sure, first and foremost, I'm not spreading information, whether it's true or false, that doesn't need to be shared because I don't want to participate in gossip. Second discernment rule that I want to follow is I have to ask the question, do I have anything helpful to say about this story? Will my contribution to the conversation tear down or will it build up? If I can't speak in a way that edifies for the building up of the body in love, then I gotta zip it. And initially I chose to zip it because I just didn't have anything helpful to say. It's just a bummer of a story. But when I read Michael Tait's public confession, and I thought maybe, just maybe, there are some redemptive things that can come out of a rather salacious story. And that leads us to crucial lesson number 2. In the body, we're going to have true and false converts. Now, please note, nothing I'm about to say is intended to make a declaration of the status of Michael Tait's soul. I'm not going to address his salvation with definitive and declarative authority. None of us really get to do that. I'm not going to render a verdict on where Michael Tait is going to spend eternity. I just think his confession raises questions that could actually help all of us, especially if you deal with a besetting sin and you're regularly wondering, am I a Christian? Am I not a Christian? Where am I at in God's economy? Let's use this opportunity to talk about that subject, because I know a lot of evangelicals struggle with it, especially when you wrestle with ongoing sin. With that as our backdrop, because of 1 John, my theological grid leads me to conclude it's pretty unlikely that a man who's been drunk and consuming drugs and who's been a groomer for 20 years can be a genuine convert. John is clear. If you keep on sinning, you're of the devil. If you have ongoing unrepentant sin, you're not a genuine Christian convert. But then, so just put that on pause for a moment. I read his confession, and I have to confess that the confession he offered seems to be genuinely contrite, and it appears he's potentially like a born-again believer. Let me just show you why, and then we'll put all of this together. First, he didn't seek to defend himself. That's one of the signs of godly sorrow, genuine repentance. Godly sorrow doesn't try to couch or explain or even defend one's sin, and Tait exhibits that kind of sorrow. This is what he wrote. For some 2 decades, I used and abused cocaine and consumed far too much alcohol and at times touched men in an unwanted, sensual way. I am ashamed of my life choices, make no excuses for them. I will call it what God calls it, sin. I don't blame anyone or anything but myself. While I might dispute certain details in the accusations against me, I do not dispute the substance of them. That's a sign of godly sorrow. The second sign is a willingness to accept the consequence. And it appears Tait has that attitude. Listen to what he wrote. To the extent my sinful behavior has caused anyone to lose respect or faith or trust in me, I understand, deserve, and accept that. That's a really good sign. Third sign of godly sorrow is a sorrow that doesn't feel bad because you were busted or you just loathe the consequences of your sin. That's an Esau and Judas type of sorrow. It's horizontal in nature. Godly sorrow is vertical. And that's really what this fellow exhibited when he wrote, "It crushes me to think that someone would lose or choose not to pursue faith and trust in Jesus because I've been a horrible representative for him, for he alone is ultimately the only hope for any of us." Now, that really transparent confession caused me to revisit, it didn't change my mind, but to revisit my aforementioned understanding of true and false conversions. And while I don't know all of the details of Michael Tait's sin struggles, or if he even struggled at all, I have to keep running back to 1 John 2. By this we know that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. The one who says, "I've come to know him," and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not within him. But whoever follows his word, in him the love of God has been truly perfected. By this we know that we are in him. The one who says that he remains in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked. And then you got yourself 1 John 3. No one who remains in sin continually, please note, Christians fall, but this describes the diver. They dive into a cesspool of sin and they swim and they gorge and they love it and they don't war against it. No one who sins continually like that has seen him or knows him. Little children, make sure no one deceives you. The one who practices righteousness is righteous, just as he is righteous. The one who practices sin is of the devil, for the devil's been sinning from the beginning. The Son of God appeared for this purpose, to destroy the works of the devil. And again, no one who has been born of God practices, that's ongoing, practices unrepentant, willful sinning. No one who has been born of God lives like that, because his seed remains in him and he cannot sin continually because he has been born of God. By this, the children of God and the children of the devil are obvious. Anyone who does not practice righteousness is not of God, nor the one who does not love his brother and sister. No, we're not perfect, but we're striving for righteousness, even as we stagger, stumble, and fall. That's the Christian experience. That's biblically explained and understood. But an individual who spends years, decades, in unrepentant sin, living in that lifestyle for that extended period of time, I just can't escape what 1 John 2 and 3 says. But I read that confession and I go, oh, that actually sounds like a dude who's saved. How can a guy live a duplicitous lifestyle for 20 years and be saved? And I guess we have to say, maybe it's a possibility. Maybe, I guess, depending on personal info that I don't possess, I just find it hard to believe that an ongoing sinful lifestyle like that indicates this fellow was a true convert. But His confession looks like he is, and only time is going to reveal if he is indeed born again. I sure hope so. But my suspicion is that whatever he was before this revelation, he's currently giving every indication the Lord has saved him. Again, time will tell. My suspicion is his conversion came during this season of brokenness, and he expressed that, I think, when he wrote, quote, "By his grace, I can say that for the past 6 months, I have lived a singular life, one of utter brokenness and a total dependence on a loving and merciful God." And that brings us to the crucial lesson. If you struggle with ongoing sin, note this: it is far less important that you know when you were saved than it is to know that you are currently saved. If you continue to wonder when you got saved, I would suggest you concern yourself with that far less than knowing you are saved right now. So examine yourself to see if you're in the truth, perhaps with an elder at your local church. That would be very wise, and make your calling and election sure. And then concern yourself with the when of your salvation. Another time. When did Michael Tait get saved? I don't know. Does it appear he is saved now? It does. And that's the most important thing. And incidentally, if you want a more thorough treatment on this subject of determining if your besetting sin indicates that you're saved or not saved, we'll put some links below. We've done a number of treatments on this subject because so many Christians wrestle with it. But that brings us to our third life-changing lesson, courtesy of Michael Tait. Whether he was saved decades ago or just within the last couple of months, it's clear sin is so deceitful. If Tait were a false convert, he was deceived by sin for 20 years. If he were a true convert, which I have to confess I struggle with, nevertheless, then he was even more deceived by sin. Either way, that's our third crucial lesson. Sin is more deceitful than you and I can even imagine. Sin lies, it tricks, it fools, it's powerful. Don't be deceived by the deceitfulness of sin. Charles Spurgeon, he preached on the potency of the deceitfulness of sin, and there's stuff for us to learn here. We are not immune to this. I don't care how long you've been in the faith. Sin has had way more experience being deceitful than you have had in identifying it and walking in integrity. Here's what Spurgeon wrote: "Its deceitfulness may be seen in the manner of its approaches to us. Sin does not uncover all its hideousness nor reveal its horrible consequences, but it comes to us in a very subtle way, offering us an advantage further. It frequently comes as a bare suggestion, an imagination, an airy thing, spun of such stuff as dreams are made of. You don't think you're committing the fault, nor even talking of it, but you think of it pleasantly and view it as a thing bright and lustrous to the imagination. The thought fascinates, and then the spell of evil begins its deadly work. Thought condenses into desire, and desire grows to purpose, and purpose ripens into act. So slyly does sin come into the soul that it is there before we're aware of it. It is sneaky because it's had a lot of practice." Spurgeon also warned, and this is pointed, sin has a way of adapting itself to us and our circumstances. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of affair with sin. To the young man, sin will come with fire for passions, which are all too ready to blaze. To the old man, sin will come with the chill frost of parsimony, just being frugal, or the frost of sloth, or the canker of care. Oh, my health, everything. Sin's quiver has an arrow for the rich and a dart for the poor. It has one form of poison for the prosperous, another for the unsuccessful. This master fisherman in the sea of life does not use the same bait for all sorts of fish, but he knows the creatures he would capture. If sin finds you poor, it will tempt you to envy, or to steal, or to doubt God, or to follow crooked ways of gain. If sin finds you abounding in riches, it will follow quite another tack, to lure you onto self-indulgence, or to pride, or worldly fashion. Satan knows more about us than we know about ourselves. He knows our raw places and our weak points, and in what joint there was a breakage in our youth. Sin, like the north wind, finds out every cranny in the house of manhood and comes whistling in where we fondly dreamed that we were quite screened from its intrusion. Sin creeps toward us like a lion, stealthily draws us near to his prey. Beware of the sin which, like Agag, comes delicately. Watch well against the temptation, whose words are smoother than butter, but inwardly they are drawn swords. If you're dabbling with sin, you are playing with fire, and you can't hold fire to your chest and not get burned. If you are harboring any sin, you've already been deceived. Come clean. Don't wait to be busted. Repent now. And then heed crucial lesson number 4 from the Michael Tait story. Get yourself into a local church, join it, and start serving there. Listen to Hebrews 3:13. Encourage one another every day, as long as it is still called today, so that none of you will be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. If you don't want to be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin, tricked by its chicanery, be in a local church. You need one another. What is one of the best things that you can do to make sure you're not being deceived by the deceitfulness of sin? Easy. Join a local church and live a transparent life with your brothers and sisters. I'm talking honest and open and vulnerable and transparent. I'm talking like you should be able to say, hey, dude, here's my cell phone. Please look through it. Look for any problems that you might discover. You will only be safe from the deceitfulness of sin if you let others into your life to reveal what you cannot see for yourself. I suspect Michael Tait was probably not a plugged-in and serving member of a local church because he was allowed to live a duplicitous life. That will be uncovered very quickly if you are living life as a Christian in the context of a local church where you live authentically, vulnerably, and transparently, which I guess would actually be 6 things. But those are my 4, hopefully edifying thoughts on the news story of the Newsboys. If you have additional edifying thoughts that you believe will build up the body, then please discuss.
God is blessing Fortis Institute. Thanks to your prayerful financial support, the labor of a lot of godly people at this ministry, we are producing more content, reaching more people, and we have more trusted voices that are creating sound biblical content. And we want to keep this train rolling. And so we have an idea to reach exponentially more people with gospel resources. We're launching the Truth Unhindered campaign. It's a matching gift campaign. Every dollar you give, it gets doubled. What are we gonna do? We're gonna close our store. We're gonna give all of our resources away. We give away a ton of stuff. We're giving everything away because we don't want finances to be a hindrance to receiving these resources. Second, we're gonna market this aggressively around the globe to good, bad, and ugly churches so that they have good Bible resources. Would you join us for the Truth Unhindered campaign at fortisinstitute.org/donate?